Reagan L. Jackson, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Incorporated, Beta Delta Omega chapter. I began my AKA membership in 2016 as an undergraduate at Gamma Rho chapter located at Jackson State University. I am honored to serve as the host of the second episode of BDO Turns 90 podcast, a walk down memory lane from 1934 to 1943. Today's conversation is with Dr. Barbara Crockett Deese, a 1955 initiate at Fisk University's Pi chapter. She holds the distinct honor of earning a PhD in French from Florida State University and being the first African American professor in Mississippi with that credential. After retiring from Jackson State University, she took her talents to the University of Southern Mississippi, Spelman College, Rusk College, and Tougaloo College, where she also served as Dean of Humanities. She was initiated into the sorority at Fisk University in 1955 and has held active membership for over 65 years. Dr. Deese also served as editor for the History of the Southeastern Region, Pearls in Perpetuity, a Century of Sisterhood and Service history book from 1921 to 2001. Good afternoon, Dr. Barbara Deese, and welcome to our podcast. This is the first interview of the series, and I'm delighted to have this conversation with you, especially as you are a guiding light of Beta Delta Omega.
Well, thank you for that compliment. Highly respected. Hello, Reagan. Thank you for inviting me to speak to your listeners.
I know we're talking today about the history of BDO from 1934 to 1943, but I'd like to start with a bit about your personal history within the sorority. When did you join Beta Delta Omega, and what are your fondest memories of that time?
Joined Beta Delta Omega in 1964, 1 year after becoming a member of the Jackson State University faculty as an instructor of French. I have many memories connected with Beta Delta Omega because immediately became the graduate advisor of Gamma Rho chapter at Jackson State. Those ladies led me on many a merry chase. And in the early days, they also took over mothering my 2-year-old daughter, Mitzi, affording me time to mother them. So it became, shall we say, tit for tat, and remained that way off and on until 1988, until I moved on to another job at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wonderful. So, to 1934. I know you weren't here in 1934, but as a former chair of the History Committee and having worked on two of the chapter's history books, please give us some insight to those early days of Beta Delta Omega.
I certainly. Inez Beverly Prosser served as a charter member and first president in 1934. Without her efforts to petition the national office and recruit members to join the chapter, there simply would not have been Beta Delta Omega. Unfortunately, she was unable to complete her term due to her death in September of that year. But her vision of service and sisterhood in the Jackson area was simply unmatched. And here we are, 90 years later.
It's almost as though this was her final gift to her sorority and her community.
I suppose you could say that. If so, it was a wonderful gift, and it has lasted all of these times. After her death, of course, the chapter was even more determined to bring her vision to life. Florence O. Alexander became the second president and even served as the seventh. Under her leadership, the chapter initiated its first graduate member, Dorothy Gordon Gray. Many of us remember her. Understand that the chapter was still very small. The remaining charter members plus Gray meant that Beta Delta Omega had only 7 members.
7? I cannot imagine. Right now, we have over 300.
I know. They probably couldn't have imagined 300, but these were warrior women of AKA. The chapter contributed to healthcare initiatives at the Mount Sinai School and the Polio Clinic. Polio was a global pandemic and epidemic, so much like COVID 19. Polio was a communicable virus that attacked the spinal cord and the brain and mainly attacked children. They also established scholarships, Fashionetta, Spelling Bee, Founders Day celebration, and the Yuletide Tea as its signature programs. On May 23rd, 1947, the records recorded a membership of 18. Can you imagine one small sorority having all that many signature programs?
Wow, now that's amazing. We are still doing some of the work today. And it sounds like we have a long history of service in community healthcare.
Oh, that we do. What Alpha Kappa Alpha has always understood is the impact of meeting the needs of its communities. And during that time, Black people, we must remember, even if they could have afforded it, did not have access to medical care, even routine medical care. You cannot have a strong community without strong and well people. Isn't that right?
That's definitely correct. Is this also when Beta Delta Omega began working with the Mississippi Health Project?
Well, yes. This was during Henrietta Trawick's presidency. Beta Delta Omega was given a national appointment to work on the Mississippi Health Project to eradicate health disparities and improve race relations in the Mississippi Delta, primarily in Mound Bayou, which was the first all Black town in Mississippi. But always remember, we must always remember, access to adequate health care is a civil rights issue and a human right. You cannot have one without the other.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Indeed. Let's switch gears a bit. We are certainly proud to have Beta Delta Omega members as regional and national leaders of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Your daughter, Mitzi D's Page, served as a 26th Southeastern Regional Director, and our immediate past international president, Glenda Glover, is a member of our chapter. But the first national officer came from this period, correct?
Yes, that's right. Beta Delta Omega has always been engaged at the national level. That's one thing I'm very proud of. The first executive director of Alpha Kappa Alpha was Carrie Maddox Preston, a Beta Delta Omega initiate of the 1930s, who attended Tougaloo at Atlanta University, which is now Clark Atlanta. Remember, neither Tougaloo nor Jackson State had undergraduate chapters until 1949. Preston served as executive director for 25 years.
I just feel so proud to hear that we have such a record of service at that level and that BDO members have always taken the lead. What other initiatives did BDO implement during this early period?
Oh, so many. And we were making a real impact. Under the leadership of Belma Hamilton from 1942 to 1947, the chapter purchased an incubator for the Jackson Hospital to ensure that Black infants received proper care. Of course, due to segregation, Black and white infants could not use the same incubators.
We were really at the forefront of Black healthcare even then.
Oh, yes, but we also focused on eradicating illiteracy and improving reading comprehension for Black students.
To think that less than 20 women accomplished all of this just amazes me. Where did they get the energy? Where did they get the audaciousness?
Now, Reagan, these women were born bold and they were born to be women of AKA. They wholeheartedly believed in their responsibility to serve others and lift their communities. And we are blessed to have them as the foundation of the work. These were warrior women.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Dees, I thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge with me and our listeners today.
Of course, you know I could not have overlooked another trip down AKA Memory Lane. You're very welcome, and you know I enjoyed my little trip.
Yes, ma'am. This concludes episode 2 with Dr. Barbara C. Dees. We invite you to continue to listen as we celebrate 90 years of Beta Delta Omega. Please subscribe and tune into our next episode.